What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Greenheart, and welcome back to another episode of the Ann Green Show Sports Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Mr. Greenheart. I got the great co-host with me, Sheldon, Harris, and Jelanie. We're here to give you a nice, fresh take on what's been going on in the NBA 2022 playoffs, and also get into a little bit of open conversation regarding some of the awards that have been given out. One being Defensive Player of the Year, the other one being Rookie of the Year. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in it. And of course, if you haven't followed the Ant Green Show, please make sure to subscribe on all platforms. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into it. I don't feel like a lot has happened so far in the playoffs, but definitely in terms of where we were in the last one, everybody was assuming there was going to be a clear-cut path for two teams, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns?
Yes, correct. So I'll maybe just start with Harris on this. So Harris, what do you think right now of the playoffs in terms of how things are shaping out? Are you kind of surprised to see certain teams where they are? I know a lot of people are kind of talking about a few in particular, but wanted to get your take in terms of what you thought about the playoffs so far.
Yeah, for sure, man. And again, thanks for having me on the episode this week. And listen, when we had our episode last time, I had Phoenix and Milwaukee back in the finals. And you ask me now, literally 2 weeks later, it's kind of in flux, especially with the injury now to Devin Booker. And I don't know the status of Middleton. I know the Bucks did win today against the Bulls, but it's just everything for Phoenix. I think long term, if Booker's not healthy, if they run into like a Golden State, I mean, it could be the difference maker. So that's been a little bit of a shock. And we were touching on just earlier before we went on the air. Jelanie Celtics, man, I did not think whatsoever that they would be up 3-0. Credit to the Celtics, man. They're just making life miserable for Durant. But again, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it in the open court later, but for Durant to play 46 minutes yesterday and only put up 11 shots, like you can't go 6 of 11. You got to shoot more. Like I get it, they're playing tough D, but if you want to be great, and you want to put yourself away from, he always says he's better, like he's ahead of number one player. Got to figure it out. He can't put up 11 shots. So that's been a big shock to me. And also the Raptors have been a little bit of a shock. I thought there would be a little bit more of a fight in that series, although game 3 was close and they won game 4. Yeah, but I think like the first 2 games, they got blown out in Philly. I wasn't expecting that at all. So yeah, those have been my surprises. Other than that, nothing's really kind of touched me. I thought Golden State handling Denver was expected kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Disappointed in the Jazz that even without Doncic, they can barely, beat the Mavericks. So yeah, that's been my take on it, man. It's been exciting. It's been some fun games. Looking forward to tonight's game with the Hawks and then the Pelicans as well. So that's my take for it so far.
Yeah, man. It's I guess most of the stuff we've seen so far has been expected. I mean, I'll throw it to Jelanie next, but just to touch on Boston, really impressed with how well they're clicking at this time of the year. And not only that, the players that they have on their team, I don't think we realized they actually brought back Al Horford and Daniel Tice and added a guy like Derek White, I think somewhere midway into the season. Jaylen Brown was hurt, came back strong. Marcus Smart's been playing well. Pritchard is even playing well off the bench. And Ime Udoka, I think he's even up there for Coach of the Year because they got Boston back to second place. They got the right guys in place. So, I love the way Boston retooled, and now you're really seeing that come in the postseason because up against guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you would think on paper, just those names alone, Brooklyn would have the advantage. Forget about the Ben Simmons situation. At least KD and Kyrie should have been able to get a game. The first game, I don't know if you guys caught the first game, but that was heartbreak. Brooklyn really needed that game. So I'll throw it over to Jelanie. Jelanie, what do you like so far about the playoffs? I know you're a happy Celtics fan this time of year. It's not always the same thing every year, but this year you could enjoy it a little bit. What are your thoughts so far on how the playoffs is shaping out?
Well, before we get into the playoffs, I wanted to touch base on Marcus Smart being Defensive Player of the Year. Believe it was since 95, 96, Gary Payton, took the award.
I'm happy a guard won it, man. Respect for him.
The reason why I wanted to bring up Marcus Smart is because he was a subject of trade rumors for the last couple of years now. And I was hoping and praying they wouldn't get rid of a guy like him. So the fact that, he got this award now, I think it puts Boston in a spot where they shouldn't get rid of a guy like him because he's a
Mhm.
difference maker both offensively and defensively, right? So I just wanted to touch base with that. But in terms of the playoffs, like I'm honestly surprised that Boston is up 3-0, especially a team like Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But the fact that they came out with a great plan to shut down Durant defensively, it's
Working
unbelievable
in
to
their
be honest.
favor, yeah.
So um, moving forward, I don't know if it's going to be a 4-game sweep. I think Brooklyn will take at least one of those games, if not two. But I see Boston taking that series regardless.
Regardless.
The Bucks one is kind of interesting, especially with the injury, obviously, to Middleton. I think Chicago is going to
They're not
really
playing
take
up to
advantage now.
expectations. I mean,
Yeah,
like in the season, they're a great season team. Sorry to cut you off, but just I
no,
feel
it's
like
okay.
you just get to see a team's like weaknesses and their strengths and where they can get exposed. And for Chicago, big thing is their inside presence. Vujicic is a great center, like a good offensive center, but like
Mhm.
you need you guys to protect the paint. You can't have Derek Jones Jr. trying to body up against Giannis. That's too big. That's too much.
Yeah.
And so like DeRozan, like you could score 50 mid-range shots in a row. You got to have 3-point shooting. Chicago needs to
Yeah.
find a way to like get that maybe for next season. But anyway, I'll let you go on with that. I just think Chicago a little disappointed. I thought they would have had a better fight.
Yeah, but like I said, they should take advantage for the fact that Madison's hurt. So this is where, as a collective unit, they gotta come out with a moving forward for the rest of the series, come out with a better plan. The Phoenix Pelicans one, I'm not surprised that Pelicans took a game. I mean, come on, you're missing your best player on the team, right? But I think it's still going to be Phoenix's series regardless. Golden State for sure. I'm not worried about Golden State and the Timberwolves Grizzlies. That's going to be
Tight. It's tight.
yeah.
It's a toss up.
It's a lot
Yeah.
of talking. Yeah,
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough one. And the Jazz one, I don't really care about, but I'm disappointed with Gobert because I had him in fantasy and he's getting beaten by Kleber. Like I don't understand, but I think it's a mobility issue, especially when you're that tall. Like some players, like you have the Embiids, you have the what's his face there. Who's the other big man? You have the Aitons. Certain players that are like over 7 feet, like they have that mobility, and I find Gobert doesn't have that shiftiness, to guard certain guys. So it is what it is. But he's still a good player. But that series, I don't know. I think Harris said it in the last podcast. When Doncic comes back, it's done. Like there's no way Jazz are gonna have an answer for him. So
it's tough. It's tough for you.
It's like I said, overall, I think it's a really interesting series. But my main focus obviously is Boston. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And sorry, Rahshawn, just want to add one quick thing to Jelanie's point. I think like everyone's wondering, what's wrong with Brooklyn, but we're starting to forget how good Boston really is. Like it's not what's wrong with Brooklyn, it's how damn good Boston is. I want to just touch on that because I was thinking that too. I'm like, yo, what's wrong with Nets? But I'm like, wait, man, the Celtics are just that good, man.
Yeah, like they said, like they came back. Last year they were what 7th seed. Like, no one took Boston seriously, but it's just the game plan. Everything they really came out with
well executed.
Yeah, and like you said, Rahshawn, like getting Derek White was a really good pickup for them and whatnot, and getting rid of Walker and Fournier to the bubbling Knicks is a whole nother story. But you gotta get some to lose on, right? So
get some to lose some. That's the way. That's the game to play. You got to pay to play. So whatever things happen, I'll throw it over to you, Sheldon. I know we have a lot of interesting discussion going on now about certain teams. What do you like, man? What have you been liking? What have you seen out there that kind of surprised you, disappointed you? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'll start off by saying that the Minnesota versus the
Grizzlies, Memphis.
The Grizzlies, man, that series, I didn't think it was going to be a good one, and it's turning out to be a really good series. These guys are going hard. I didn't realize that Timberwolves were number one in scoring in the NBA, or number 2 in scoring. So that series it's a lot of offense, but these guys are playing hard. So it's a really exciting series to watch. I remember when I saw Beverly crying before the after the play-in
game.
I saw him tearing up. I was just like, oh, these guys are going to get waxed by Memphis.
Yeah.
But it's actually turned out to be a really good series. And that's probably my favorite series to watch, besides obviously seeing what's going on with the Celtics and Nets, as you guys are mentioning. Like, that's definitely the biggest surprise. But I also mentioned last episode that, going into the playoffs, the Nets were 10th seed. Usually in normal circumstances, those guys are not making the playoffs. When you're a 10th seed, Kyrie's in and out the lineup. You don't got the chemistry. Ben Simmons is rumored to be coming back. Is that a distraction? So there's a lot going on there. And to be honest with you, KD is up there in age. He's 33, turning 34.
Yeah.
Normally that's when guys start going down the cliff. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If you're looking at, guys like Pierce, Garnett, whoever, 95% of the time when a guy's 33, 34 years old, it's just not the same anymore. And I think that's what you're starting to see. But I also want to give obviously credit to the Celtics because their defense is phenomenal. Marcus Smart and the way that their coach has them, kind of,
On
hedging all the time.
rotations, who they have guys
harassing.
taking off. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So, I mean, it's a perfect storm. And, we're seeing the changing of the guards. I feel like, KD's passing that torch. And I mentioned to you last week, KD, LeBron, they are not the best players in the NBA anymore, so I stand by that. And, it's been real interesting, man.
Sheldon, can I ask you a question? Because we touched about it before we went on the air. So you see Durant is struggling down 0-3, 16 points. Now imagine if this was LeBron in the round one, down 0-3, he would be scrutinized. He would be getting blasted. Don't you think? Don't you feel that? Yeah, he doesn't Durant doesn't get the same, treatment from the media as LeBron does.
But you know
That's
why
right.
though? Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
Go ahead, Sheldon. I want to hear Sheldon. Go ahead, Sheldon.
Well, I'll allude right off of what you were saying, Jelanie. I think the reason why is because a lot of what LeBron, what happens to LeBron, and it started from day one, being an 18-year-old calling yourself the king. You want to do that in this world, you're gonna get, you're gonna be looked at on a higher standard. Like if you want, and he's earned that. He's earned the king status.
Your career.
That is his. But true say, if you talk like that, and you want to be that, then you're going to be looked at a little bit differently. Because I think Katie's nickname was at one point was the servant. So you're talking about the servant and then the king. So you're going to have two different perspectives there for sure.
Yeah,
sure. Jelanie, jump in. You had something you want to throw in?
Yes. The first thing I want to touch base on was the age factor that you mentioned, Sheldon. It has nothing to do with when you. KD being 33, 34. Look at LeBron at 37. If LeBron had a LeBron had a supporting
you can't factor.
No, but what I'm saying is if LeBron had like a legit supporting cast, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Oh, hold on. Okay, but wait. Check this out.
I hear.
But hold on. But if KD was still on the Warriors, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Like you said, Simmons is out. There's no chemistry with Kyrie, so you can't really.
I see that.
I'm sorry, you can't really.
Okay, but to be fair,
go ahead, finish. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. The last time Celtics were up 2-0 against LeBron, he was exactly what KD's age, 33 years old. 33. That was the 33 or 34 actually, and he was without Kyrie. So that was the year that Kyrie had left.
He was playing with a bunch of guys from the gas station. Yeah.
Celtics were up 2-0. Yeah, and LeBron came back and won that series.
But the reason why that happened is because remember Boston was a much younger team back then. They were inexperienced. Now
I know, but look at LeBron's supporting cast though. He was a bunch of guys from the local gas station playing.
That's the thing.
So I mean, and yet he won the Game 7 on the road in Boston. So I mean, no excuse for KD, man. Like you, if LeBron can get it done with snubs, you got to get something done, man.
But another thing is that the media portrays LeBron to be the next Jordan. This is why LeBron didn't get scrutinized, because they portray him to be the Jordan. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys agree, but it's a different era. We got to shut this whole conversation down about who's better, who's the GOAT.
Just respect the great, like the eras. Just respect and appreciate the eras.
It's a different era. It was much more physical back then. You guys both know. We all both know if LeBron was in that era, he wouldn't last because he can't take the physicality. He complains too much.
But you can't. It's not fair to say that.
That's interesting.
But he complains.
Yeah. That's interesting because.
And he does the flopping. Not that wouldn't fly back then with the flopping. But again, it's not only LeBron that's doing it. It's a lot of players are doing it. Even Marcus Smart does it. I'll say it. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Everybody does it. But the point of the matter is that LeBron gets scrutinized because they portray him as the next Jordan, and he's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Hi.
I think a lot of people could agree that is the case. His expectations are so high, and as Sheldon pointed out, from as soon as he came
Like he
into
felt
the
it this
league,
year. Like come on,
it was
with
too
you know with
much.
the Mellows.
It's too much for him
What
to
else?
live
The
up to
AD.
sometimes
They
because
were
he's
supposed to go to
human.
the playoffs. They didn't go
Yeah,
to the playoffs this year, so he's obviously gonna get scrutinized for it.
yeah,
But if it's
yeah,
Durant, it's gonna be a different story. Like Sheldon said, he didn't have Simmons, he didn't have Kyrie, full time. So what do you expect really?
yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
really say much.
I definitely hear that. Did you, Sheldon? Did you have anything else you wanted to continue with for the playoffs?
I'm surprised with Brunson.
Jalen
He's
Yeah.
Brunson, man, he's
playing
gonna
like
get
an all
paid.
star. He might be an all star next year, man.
He's gonna
With the
get
way he's
paid.
playing, like I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed with Toronto's. I expected big things from them. Obviously, they have, Philly has the two better players, and that's the best players in that series. Although Harden also is another guy who's in his 30s, and now he's, dropping off a bit.
Yep.
But ultimately, I think that, Embiid is just probably, one or two most dominant in the league right now, and that's what we're seeing. But at the same time, I am proud of Toronto for the way that they're playing. They're playing pretty hard. Barnes got Rookie of the Year. Joel Embiid stepped on his ankle, so after that point, I think that's what was the big turning point in the series. But I think Toronto has a very bright future, as I said, with Barnes.
Mhm.
I'm happy he won Rookie of the Year. I think he deserves it. He could play. He can guard your 5. He can guard your 1. He's a 1 through 5, like kind of like a Draymond with that energy, and he can do it all. So
Yeah.
I think they have a bright future. But at the same time, I know that Philly's going to get by them. Who else?
There was the Chicago, Milwaukee, Pels.
Yeah.
Phoenix. Some of those series
I
you
think
kind
they're
of tell that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the Chicago's really missing Lonzo. Lonzo, he's not really necessarily a stat stuffer. He's not really that guy who's going to drop 30 points, but he does create chemistry, and that was
Yeah,
one
and he
thing that-
dictates the offense. He flows the offense for sure.
That's right, and he has elite defense.
Yeah.
So that's a big, and he can hit threes. He's not necessarily a jumper guy, but if he's open on threes, I think he's at 40-45% when he's open on threes. So, that's a big piece they're
That's his
missing, especially, and I think now Caruso has and now Caruso, I think, has a concussion. So, I think Milwaukee definitely gets by them next game. And, but ultimately the playoffs have been fun so far, to be honest.
For sure.
They've been really fun, surprising. That mini Memphis series it's top notch, man. I'm watching.
And his Warriors
Yeah.
game right now, it's a 1-point game. Curry's at the line to tie it with a few minutes left. It's crazy. Yeah.
Guys, Sheldon, you spoke about bright future. Who also has a bright future that we didn't mention? Jordan Poole.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
How about this
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
There's a third
Yeah.
splash brother. There's a third splash brother, and his name is Jordan
sure.
Poole, man.
He's definitely the future of that team. One of the future.
That
No
team
doubt.
is
No doubt.
stacked. That team is stacked.
Even
Oh my
Kaminga.
gosh.
Kaminga, I had him in my
Kuminga,
fantasy. He stepped up
Wiseman.
late this year. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Wiseman has to prove himself. He's been injured there, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That team is
I agree with that
special.
too. Wiseman definitely has to prove himself. They have crazy amounts of young talent in Golden State,
Mhm.
and what a luxury they get to have playing with a guy as a point guard with Steph Curry, as a shooter,
Oh,
with
man.
Clay, and then
Bro.
as a big man leader in Draymond, and then a coach with Steve Kerr. Like, it's a dream come true because you kind of get a little bit of everything, and it's no wonder that they're playing well. And even though guys have been in and out of the lineup, like, as I said before, I think Golden State still had that fighting chance. Even if Steph Curry was like not 100%, they still have enough guys to fill in. Clearly,
But
he's
dude, they're
playing to
amazing with him
potential.
coming off the bench. That's
I
yeah.
know.
It's,
I know.
Yeah, and I
sure.
want to kind of switch gears here now. So, folks, we're gonna jump into our courtside talks where we just have kind of open discussions, kind of talk a little bit more about what's going on in the playoffs. But one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, the amount of technical fouls and review that they're doing over potential hostile plays, or like, where's the hard fouls that you could just give a hard foul? Okay, you own up to it, but like everything is getting reviewed. I feel like the league is, and going back to Jelani's point, like back in the day, like it's a physical game and like you can get away with stuff, hand checks, whatnot. But like specifically, how do you guys feel about how the refs are looking at the game now, from everything being a potential flagrant, hostile act, technical foul? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'll start off by saying that it's a league where the number one priority is money, especially for management. And I know that when they can drag it out and oh my goodness, is it a technical? Is it not? You know, and they do the reviews. That draws attention. That gets you texting your friend, hey, did you see that technical? It's not a technical. People start watching the game. So I think that it's actually something that helps them, the NBA itself. But for the viewer, it's highly annoying. You know what I mean? Because these are grown men, you know, the toughest guys, biggest guys in the world. And, you know, there's little knickknacks that we're talking about here. So, you know, it's highly annoying. I don't like it, but at the same time, I understand why they do it. And it's also to protect them, you know, because, you know, the NFL, who has those concussion protocols now, you're looking at guys who want to sue potentially, you know, ex-players want to sue the NFL for, you know, for damages. So the NBA also has a job to do to protect themselves and to, you know, protect the nature of the game, you know, so I think that's a big factor.
I agree with that. How do you feel about that, Jelanie? You feel the same? You feel like it's excessive, or do you feel like it's
no, it's not excessive. I find like it's getting a lot worse now with what certain guys do, like tripping, like, you know, the Grayson Allens, or you have the Jackson Hayes pushing crowd from behind, like things like these. It's unnecessary. I understand, you know, like I said, basketball is a physical sport. So when a guy's driving to the line, and you know, you might get elbowed or whatnot, it happens. But to react the way you react, it's unnecessary, and this is why I believe, like Sheldon said, we got to protect our players, because, you know, it's
the
really
business
bad.
at the end of the day. And yeah, they, you know, you don't
Or
want.
when Isaiah Stewart took that elbow from LeBron, like,
oh, that's something that actually didn't. I mean, I know that at that time that was a big discussion, but I don't know. That's another thing. Yeah, you got to look out for these guys, because sometimes it could be potentially like, you know, really severe injuries, and nobody wants to deal with that and just get a common foul. I don't know, Harris. Do you feel the same way?
No, I'm agreeing with Sheldon. Listen, I think it ruins the game, the flow of the game. And I've touched on it many times in this podcast. To play a 48-minute game, for it to take 2 hours and 45 minutes is not normal. You know, this past summer we watched a lot of Olympic basketball, but the games are shorter. It's 40 minutes, but they're done in literally an hour and 10 minutes. There's no stop, like there's no BS play stoppages where everything is being reviewed. It's smooth basketball. The refs are letting them play. Here, everything, man. You smack the guy on the wrist, it gets called for a foul, it goes to the review board, everyone puts their hand up doing that. I hate when players are just constantly doing that. Yeah, it slows down the game.
Review everything.
Review everything. And like, you know, we're basketball fans. We watch the games. Like, dude, like, you know, there's 2 minutes left in the game, or you know, the wife or the parents are like, you know, when you coming up, I'll be up in 5 minutes. Let's play 2 minutes. It takes 20 minutes. You know, there's stoppages, timeouts after timeouts. Everything's getting reviewed. So I personally do not like it. I think that's something they should address. But then again, I get it. It's all about money, more chance for commercials, more chance for sponsorships. You think about it, when they go to review, there's always a sponsor in the corner that pops up, you know? Yeah. So, you know, I get it. It's all about dollars. That's just funding the league. But it really annoys me, man, that the flow of the game is compromised constantly.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? You want to keep the flow of the game going. That's why they did actually take off the review under 2 minutes, because that was a nightmare. Because anything under 2 minutes in every game possible, so you're having multiple games going to 2.5, 3 hours. You know, I get it. You have to protect the players, but you also you have to find a balance between both. Overall, though, guys, I think really the way the playoffs are shaping up, I think that we're going to find either Milwaukee back up top. I'll throw it around to you guys real quick here before we conclude today's show. Maybe I'll just start with Sheldon. Has your championship, Eastern and Western Conference Finals, has that changed any much since we've seen what we've seen out of a lot of the teams, or is it pretty much going to be the same, just a rough road to get there?
I mean, it's roughly the same. I think that Milwaukee will get their guys back, and they're going to handle the Bulls, whether they get them back or not.
Yeah.
But I have my questions as I've been watching them. The Celtics look really scary right now. You know what I mean? With what they're doing with the Nets, I don't think anybody else would have done that with the Nets. You know what I mean? Not 3-0. So there's that we have to look at. And out West, you know, Warriors, you can't just say, the Phoenix Suns are making the finals anymore. Like, the Warriors look like the best team, right? I mean, the Warriors look like the best team right now. So
yeah.
You know, it's a toss up. I hope that Booker's back 100%, and then we can see that Western Conference Finals matchup between both of them, because that's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I have Phoenix coming on anymore with the way Warriors are looking. But I'm going to stick with my pick.
I hear you. Cool. Good to hear. We'll throw it over to Harris. Harris, you feel like any changes to your predictions, or everything's kind of staying the
No,
same?
I'll just keep it simple. No, I'm gonna ride with it. I think the Bucks still coming out of the East, and I think even with the Booker injury, I don't know. I don't think it's too long term. I'm gonna stay with the Suns. They just feel like they're on redemption to get back to the
Yeah.
finals and win it. Yeah.
100%. I hear that, man. Phoenix has the leadership in Chris Paul. They have the coaching in Monty Williams. They have a lot of good young talent. I like the way they look. With or without Booker, they could still make it far. With Booker, it's essential to get to the finals. Jelanie, I'll finish off with you here. And I know Jelanie is a Celtic fan. You guys will potentially run into Milwaukee. So I don't know if you feel confident that you guys could actually get through Milwaukee to get to the finals, because technically I think that's the next best team in the East. What are your thoughts in terms of final predictions, or where you think the championship's going to shape out?
Well, with what you're starting with the whole Celtics Buck thing, I think the Celtics have a chance against the Bucks. I mean, like I said, it's all about
Definitely.
how you plan. You know, as a coach, you know, it's all about how you game plan your opponent. Like, it's a lot of film study, right? So I'm sure that they really studied Durant. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and it's working for them. So then again, you know, you're going against a team like the Bucks, where you have the Middletons, you have the
Giannis,
Holidays, you
Drew
have the Lopez.
Holiday.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of planning that they're gonna have to do. But I think it would be a great series. I don't know where it's gonna go. We'll see, depending on injuries and whatnot. But in terms of how I feel about the playoffs, it's only the Grizzlies Timberwolves that actually really caught me by surprise. I thought I originally had
100%.
Memphis as a sweep, but the way, you know, Towns is playing and Edwards, like, whoa, it's gonna be an interesting one. But also, Sheldon, what you were saying about, sorry, I know we're going back, but you were talking about, like, you know, players, you know, advanced age in 33. Look at a guy like Curry. Like, I don't feel as if his play has dropped off, even though, yeah, he gets a little nicked up here and there, but, you know, there's still a scary team. Yeah, so.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Curry is
Yeah.
definitely still top notch, you know, but as I said, guys get more injured prone when they get older, you know. So he is a little bit more, you know, injured prone than he was. Klay Thompson, same thing. So, you know,
Yeah.
as a guy in my 30s, I want to be the guy. I want to be able to say, you know, these guys are going to stay forever. But you know, reality is that, you know,
Father time
they're going to start slowing down slowly.
Yeah, and no, I like that take, John. You like, it's tough to say exactly, because there's always so many variables, how you game plan, how players execute. You know, I guess we're going to get into more discussions as the playoffs go on, but right now, as we see it, things are very interesting. There could potentially be a team that wins that we maybe didn't expect would win, but right now some of the favorites are still looking like that. I personally think Golden State has the best fighting chance in the West if Devin Booker is not healthy. And then in the East, surprising to say, I mean, if Boston stays playing the way they're playing, it's going to be a lot to figure out Giannis, but I might even say that Boston could upset them, because Tatum and Brown
Plus Williams
are
is back now.
superstars. And Williams being back,
Yep.
Marcus Smart having that confidence with the Defensive Player of the Year, the coaching
Don't forget
staff.
Miami.
Oh, we forgot about Miami. Oh my gosh.
You know, we'll jump into Miami. We gotta get this. I appreciate you throwing that out. We like Miami. I know it's gonna take a bit of time to kind of divulge that, but ladies and gentlemen, that's why we want you to make sure you tune into our episodes, because we always have things that we're gonna throw at you. Great teams like Miami could surprise us. They could also not really live up to expectations, but make sure to tune in for the next episode. We will also be doing an NFL draft show so for all you NFL fans, we'll be covering some of those draft picks and how teams are shaping up. Otherwise, we'll make sure to continue to cover the NBA playoffs as it continues on. My name is Rahshawn, aka Mr. Greenheart. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Make sure to follow all my co-hosts and the Ant Green Show on all social media platforms. Take care for now. Peace and love.